recording. Now, this just means we're not in a hurry. We just means that this is telepathic. Once this starts, people like Torelli and Satnam and many others start to get involved with you. They already are. They were all involved with you before we got on this Zoom. Remember, they don't work in time and space, and they're not limited by it. So they're already working with you. They don't have to sit there and wait in space for us to get there. They don't work like that. They're doing a number of things at one time while they're doing this with us. And we're capable of the same thing. So, what is the hue? To you, Susan, what is the hue? What does it mean to you? Just off the top of your head, from your heart, what does it mean to you?
The hue is kind of going into a different dimension.
Well, it's in all dimensions, but what is it?
It's the
Yeah, you know it.
everything. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm not putting you on the spot, believe me, that's not what I'm doing. I know you're all smart, so that's a given.
hmm
The hue is the first half of the word human, as you know.
right.
But it's also a sound that people, humans on Earth, birds even, plants, even animals make it. Just people can't hear them because people on Earth have lost the ability to telepathically connect with animals or plants or anything else. It's unconscious. They do it, but they don't know they're doing it. That's a problem. Because otherwise the respect for life here would be much different than it is.
I like it when you do the hue when we start.
There's two ways that I do it these days with others that are involved with me. We either bring it at a high tone down to us, or we take a lower tone and go up to it. Either way, it's always moving both directions.
Hmm.
Now, it's the omnipresent living single power. I call it a power because it doesn't consider itself a power like power over something or power controlling other people. It doesn't work like that. It is an omnipresent living energy that is emanated from even beyond Prime Creator or Source. There are two other levels above there. We haven't gone there much because it's a little over the heads of most people, let's face it. There is the realm of the silent mentors, and then there is the hue expansion ray plane above that. And that was recently brought into existence not too long ago in order to manage the hue expansion ray, which is a change in consciousness in the omnipresent living energy itself. So in the old days, under the old experiment of good and evil, it just set things up in the lower dimensions as automatic, set up. They were designed not to be able to be changed. We were supposed to go into them and not mess with them and come back out of them. People got into them, couldn't change when they got in a trap because you couldn't change it. And it was a mistake in creation. Let's just say done by all of us together, thinking it was cool and slick and right, and it wasn't. And then until long time later did we find out that we had created a kind of a trap. Source itself. If you create good and evil, opposites, and then thrust consciousness of a person into both, when they know they're supposed to be viewing it objectively as two apparently opposing forces in harmony, like the yin and yang symbol. And if they get into a situation where they start thinking fearfully and good and love and fear, and they're opposing forces, that's what becomes a trap for the Atma. That's where it starts. That's where it begins. Long time ago, long before you're ever caught or reptilians are killed or any of that implant stuff. Implants are pretty recent in galactic history, 500,000 years. That's about as far back as that goes. The other unconscious things happened long before being trapped on this particular planet with no memory. So it's important to know that, because once you know it, you will not forget it. This is telepathic. This isn't about speaking information for your ears to hear information. It's not about entertainment. It's entertaining, but that's not its purpose. So once in this journey we've already started, you hear certain things, it's waking up in you. The you is moving through you to bring this to the surface of your awareness on earth. Because you don't get it here. There's nobody out there peddling this stuff or telling people about it. There's no religious organizations that know anything about it. No governments do, except through this work. Because classified people watch these journeys. It's tied into the whole thing. So I'm as anxious, more anxious maybe than you are, to have this planet go through an unexpected transformation. And that has to come from beings beyond Earth coming here intentionally. And if they don't do it, if they won't do it, of course we know they will, Earth people would have already destroyed themselves. Animal and plant life here would be radioactive for another 500,000 years. Then it would be recolonized again. So don't think in terms of nuclear war as something new for this planet or that nuclear weapons are new. They're not. They're illegal outside of Earth, and they've been banned for probably before the Galactic Alliance was formed. Nobody would use them in the right mind. So that kind of misuse of energy is not the way we're supposed to play with the omnipresent power that is that black area in space, that is really a golden white light. It's a 0 point or toroidal or non-nuclear, non-atomic force or power. It's not visible to human eyes on Earth, so it appears black. The only reason you see galaxies with all the colors in them, blue and the nebula, is because in electronics they composite the images they get from Hubble and other satellites by incorporating ultraviolet, infrared, and X-rays and all these other things in there that human eyes can't see. So you actually see the color of them that an Atma would see in a printed photograph. But the black area they cannot produce with electronics. So you see it as a white golden light. They'd have to know that. Then they could simply add it. And it'd be tough because you'd have to see the galaxies with a white golden light everywhere. And that white golden light is quite bright. But the stars floating in it would also be clearly visible three-dimensionally. So it would not mask the images of these worlds or suns. It's quite clever. And I could probably show them how to do it right now. They're not in touch with me. I have nobody, men in black or secret classified people do not approach me here. They don't email me, they don't threaten me, they don't shut off these Zoom journeys, they don't do any of that. It's not necessary. If there was a real purpose to my being consciously involved with them, at some point there will be, then that'll happen at that time. But it has to come in a timing, in a right timing, for the good of all life. So I'm on Earth with the rest of you. This is not my native planet, and I didn't come here voluntarily at all. So I had to make the best of it. And because of the struggle I went through to recover what I know that I'm sharing with this world now, not by me alone, but by many others who are not from this planet. Because of what I went through, my entire focus has changed from when I was Sean Rawl on Norexilum. That was a very high human type of life, four-stranded DNA. Very evolved paradisical type of worlds in a big organization of world systems. But they weren't going above the void back home either. Not until this work was created above the void. That's when it changed. That's when the Say-Rays changed. That's when he appeared before the Galactic Alliance Council. Because they changed their attitude about non-interference, about places like Earth. If people don't have true free will on Earth, how can they be left alone to make their own decisions based on fear, which would annihilate them? That's irresponsible. That whole non-interference thing. It's kind of like cowardly in a way. I hate to say it this way, but the beings didn't mean it that way, but they've had experiences where they have intervened in planets and it caused problems. Understandably, but That doesn't excuse the fact that they should have been overseeing younger races, especially races who are on a planet like Earth, who were once as aware as they are and now don't know anything. So they needed to be made aware of why they should bother with Earth. It's because a lot of the beings on Earth don't belong here. They were never born here. I mean, they were never created here. They didn't evolve on Earth. So we come from them. We might as well remember we come from them because we are them. There is no race of beings on Earth that originated on this planet. All these different skin colors and races and hair and, slanted eyes and oval eyes and white skin and red skin and Indians and Semitic and Arabic and, black people, African American. These are all representative of races out among the stars on whole world systems. Through 3 suns that affect all of that. There, not here. You can't have an African American, we'll be polite, black people, or they call themselves black people, it doesn't matter. You can't have races with those differences in human characteristics evolving under one planet atmosphere with one sun. That is quite impossible. Not possible at all. So, history of Earth and the solar system isn't even known to people on Earth at all. They know what? Tyrants in history. Rome, throw them to the lions, How about Egyptian pharaohs, kings, and tyrants? If you don't do what they said, off with your head. How about the Dark Ages? How about, let's see. We got Rome and Egypt and Samaria, which is a reptilian mining colony at the time. And we've got Mayan and Aztec, cut your hearts out. The priests were corrupt, to control the people. They were slaves who were brought here to mine in small pockets of Earth. This is the history you're taught in school. Tyrants, fear. Tyrants, kings, queens. This is not something that was created on this Earth. It was imported here from other places where such ruling families existed. So think of it that way and you're more on track with being in harmony with the rest of creation. The tyrant nature of beings, meaning what have been most popularized here, reptilians, tall, muscular, shreds in each alive, wouldn't think twice about eating it, just like you don't think twice about eating a cow. It's mammals. What's the difference? See, that's the problem people create on Earth by creating a karma that binds them unconsciously to this world. Beyond just implants. There's more to it than that. So it's important to get implants out of the way so that we have more courage and freedom to go further, which is what we're doing. I had to go through what you went through. I had to sit in that white chair. I had to go through it. I couldn't have written about it. I certainly didn't learn anything about that on Earth growing up here. From what school? What institution? If you know one, you tell me where to go and I'll go study there. Show me a guru from India, from Asia, anywhere that teaches any of this, and I'll go study under them. They don't know it. So, and I don't blame them or anything like that. It's just that they need to remember a lot more than the stuff they're peddling. Because the stuff they're peddling is not getting people free, in the world, in a sense, was getting worse. All the prayers by all the people on Earth to a supreme being they don't know and don't think they really can hasn't changed this planet a tiny fraction, thousands of years. Why? Maybe they're not quite stepping far enough from faith and belief into remembering, knowing. Right? You 4 women know. I'm not telling you something you don't know. You know it now. You have to get it from somewhere, somehow. You had the courage to research and find this work. I just made it available on the planet. It took decades. Put YouTube videos up, and nobody would even look at them. They're too entertained by simple, stupid stuff. Took a long time for people to start to find this work. I couldn't force any of it on anyone. No, of course not. It has a timing. So we're in a time and place on these journeys that is current in the universe. Meaning we're going on these journeys that other people in other worlds now are going on these journeys with us. Except they're so much more evolved that when they come back from these journeys, which you would call a very masterful person or presence from another world, like Turelian or Satnam or Opalam or any of these people, they bring it back to their world systems and share it holographically. They share it telepathically. So billions of people start getting it who don't have subconscious minds, and they're going up on the journeys. That's what changes the universe. That can then focus on fixing something as broken as Earth. It's got to be fixed there first for it to come here. So a lot of this work had to be developed over many years. The U Expansionary Academy had to be built over many years by beings who were cooperatively working to do that. That began with Satnam. Let's see. Let's better shut the mics off real quick here. I do it from my end. Don't worry about it. Okay. So to give you a little history, that had to first be established out among the stars. 25 years ago, there were little gray guys running around abducting people, probing them and taking DNA samples and sticking them back on Earth with no memory. That stopped 25 years ago, too. To prepare the way. The little reptilians, well, they're not little, they're 9 feet tall, they're very powerful physically. They were in few bases in classified community on Earth for a while. And those people in their ignorance cooperated in getting them there and couldn't get them out. They didn't know how to get rid of them. Their technologies was superior. So they had to be removed from Earth by beings from other worlds. They weren't killed. They were just beamed away, so to speak. And they're being changed on their own worlds now anyway, so that there's no threat. You cannot be abducted by a little gray. There's been no new experiences recorded of grays abducting people in 25 years. And people are still talking about this as if it's going on. Reptilians with Nazis in Antarctica. No, there aren't. No. That's fear peddling. And people get caught up in it because sometimes it makes money. Fear peddling. Religions are famous at fear peddling to control people. And governments supported that for a very long time. This is coming to an end. Doesn't mean anybody's religion or faith is going to be destroyed or anything like that. But it does mean they're going to be aware of the truth and then incorporate that into their faith. And direct experience is very important. We have to have direct experience beyond just faith and belief, or all we've got is faith and belief. And the opposite of faith and belief, and it has opposites, is doubt and fear. We need to go beyond those things. In other words, we need to go back to the source energy that has no positive and negative nature. It's benevolent. It's beyond that. That's our true nature as spherical beings. We've always been this way. It's never changed. But we have been manipulated and convinced to fear knowing things again. What we really are, what we can really do, where we can really go while we're running a body on Earth. These are simple things. Leaving your body you do every night anyway. You're all masters at it. It doesn't mean you were brought up learning how to use higher faculties to bring back to Earth what you're doing. But you do it anyway. Putting the body to sleep is putting it in an automatic state. And then you get out, you go. What we're doing in these journeys is leaving while you're still conscious. Putting the body in the trance state called sleep because of the way my voice works with the hue, with others, so that you can go on these journeys and remember it during and bring it back. And then when you go through the journey a second time, you begin to discover your intelligence has gone up and you're able to understand this stuff like you always knew it, because in reality you always did. Getting comfortable with it on Earth and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to receive knowing. That's something you do. Master can't do that for you. Wave a magic wand and you're a knower, you're God realized, there you go. No, that's not what they do. They can demonstrate it, they can pass to you through their consciousness that passes through you, so you pick up on it without anybody forcing anything on you. And that's how it's done. Real master teachers do not teach by having people come and kiss their socks, worship at their feet and all that stuff. That's not, real ones don't work that way at all. In fact, they would walk away from you if you attempted that. So Earth is pretty backwards, and it needs to get straightened out on every level. So what is the hue? The hue is the omnipresent living spirit or power that powers the whole creation. It supports galaxies spinning on their axis, planets turning on their axis, revolving around suns, interdimensional doorways that people on Earth and the most classified scientists are barely beginning to scratch the surface of understanding. These doorways between dimensions exist naturally in creation. Beings who are wise enough and have the technology to respect the one power can travel through the one power even in ships. Physical craft made of physical matter can only travel within the multidimensional nature of the 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. They cannot go into the astral plane. This is one of the designs of the way the creation was set up, to keep these levels separated. If you ever seen a person pushing around a shopping cart talking to themselves, living on the street, they're really talking to somebody. They're talking to a reality. They're seeing the astral plane mixed with the physical. It's called schizophrenia. But they don't know how to cure that on Earth, because it's not coming from Earth. Something that person has done has rent a veil between something in the Atma that allows this leak through from the astral to the physical. Everything's moved by emotion there. You try to move things with emotion down here, you get run over. You got to push things around with matter here, with effort. Push, drive a car. In the astral plane, things are moved through emotion. The two aren't meant to mix in that way. We are meant to know what we're doing in these other planes. We're running bodies in them. To learn how to co-create with Source emotionally, physically, mentally, subconsciously, etheric, which isn't really subconscious at all. We're meant to know how to work with cause and effect without being the effect of the causes we make. So what does that mean? If you put out a cause, you imagine, let's say you imagine a water engine. It's not new. It's just that someone's got the power and the money and the drive to actually put it on the earth. Probably the political connections now to get it done. You go to your hose and you fill up your car. It breaks hydrogen and oxygen apart in water and burns it. Out the tailpipe comes water vapor. And it drives the electric motors. You don't even need batteries. One tank of water will take you further than a charged battery system. So that's already coming. This is not new technology. It is not Earth technology. But some of it's slipping in, so to speak. The real trick isn't that it's here, it's getting it to the whole planet. That's the real trick. None of these people will be able to do this unless they're getting help from off-world. Because they don't know how to do this on a planetary scale and not have wars or people fighting over it and all that stuff. It has to come from outside. So disclosure has to be encouraged from outside Earth. Or the leaders will not change. Too much fear. So they're being changed anyway, slowly but surely. So when we go into the hue and we do these tones, what we're really doing is creating a bridge between the physical universe out in space by Earth, bypassing the lower planes of time and space because we don't want to get lost in them. We're already got bodies in them, and we're just waking up, aren't helping each other like they should be. Like your so-called higher selves and all that. Your astral, causal, mental, these are all forms that are connected to you here. which gives a body that grows up with a baby's brain, the intelligence and emotion, does not come from growing up with parents here. It comes when the body and brain is more mature. It comes in from other bodies you're running in other planes. All your emotion comes from the astral plane, by the way. Something you need to know, or you won't know it. You're not taught it here. It's something you did know, all of you knew very well, a long time ago. So in our upward journey, we rub shoulders with beings who know this in a masterful way. Because they didn't grow up on planets like Earth, they don't have subconscious minds, or governments would never allow that. They don't have disease problems, they live much longer lives, staggeringly longer than Earth people. They don't overpopulate their planets. And what I'm telling you is this is ancient stuff. It's not new. For Earth people, it will be most certainly new. But it's not new. At the time of Lemriel on this planet, there were ships that could go to the stars towards the end of that culture. And then it was destroyed in a single night. Continents sink, new continents rise up from the ocean floors. This whole Ice Age thing, it's a joke. It's not real. It's theoretical. There's been 6 ice ages on this planet in 600,000 years. Put the numbers together, figure it out. Something happens that creates that overnight. It's not a long process to get there. Then everything shakes out, and we get another culture's building for another 100,000 years, and it's wiped out. Earth is very unique in this way. Other planets don't do this, so it's a problem planet. You get stuck in a body here, you've got more problems than you think you have. Because nobody will tell anybody the truth here. Well, that's changing. It's starting to happen now. So when you're doing daydreaming, just like when you imagine going to the store, and you see yourself above your body, which is easy, you close your eyes, you shut off the light on purpose. Everybody does this without even knowing the opportunity they have when they close their eyes. They don't know what to do with it. When you close your eyes, it shuts off the connection to Earth's atmosphere. It opens a doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. And because you know about the you, it begins to move you above the body. Look at it this way. You're already hovering above your body right now. You always have been. You've never been the body. So being aware of what you are that's spherical in nature, like a planet, made of energy, non-nuclear, non-physical energy, the energy of the universe that's out there behind all those planets that they float in is what we're made of, star stuff. That energy is not destructible, pervertible, twistable, or anything else by any science, by any beings in the lower worlds of time and space. And when you get into the void and higher, there is no negative nature, so they don't need to really guard things there. Now, just because this is true, in reality, the true nature of creation as it's changing should be that the lower worlds of time and space become unfixed and unfinished. To do that, the silent mentors must be aware to want to do it and willing to do it, because they run the mechanics of creation and keep it in place. In the past, the entire lower dimensions of time and space were wiped out as a way to desperately stop evil or negative nature from taking over. And then beings were drawn up above the void, it was rebuilt, and they were sent back. And after billions of years, ended up in the same boat. It didn't change anything. The old failed experiment of good and evil is a failed experiment because it does not do what it was intended to do. What it was intended to do was cause people with, a devil chasing at your heels with fire under your feet to get you running in the right direction in spiritual logic. People became so fascinated by the supposed genius of evil They got stuck looking into it. If you're afraid of the devil and praying to a savior at the same time, power's going into that evil from the imagination. And it splits the consciousness in half. It's an easy way to trap and control people. It's an old story. It's not new. I don't blame anybody on earth. I don't blame politicians or religious leaders for any of this because they grew up the same way. They don't know any better. They can know better. They're supposed to know better. All they have to do is have the courage to leap beyond faith into direct experience. Because then they become more mature as beings and can be trusted to be taken to some heavenly place and have the maturity, know how to co-creatively help and not just sit there like babies, everything given to them, and they don't have to do anything. That doesn't work. There is no practical nature to that in the higher realities. So for instance, you're not going to become a reestablished citizen in the Atma plane with Sat Nam, where we're going, unless you can be trustworthy enough to be taken there. Otherwise, you don't pass the guardians at these doorways. Like the top of etheric, there's a guardian. There's a number of guardians that prevent people from going into the void or higher unless, let's just say, unless they know about the hue. And then it's like a pass, like a golden key. And then you get to Sat Nam's realm, and you don't go further than his realm unless he gives you permission to. Period. Nobody does. You want to go back home to Source? You got to get permission from Agam Purusha, many planes above Sat Nam's realm, in order to go there. So these are people, beings you want to be friends with, right? Just makes common sense. And they're open to this now, more than they ever were. So close your eyes, see yourself hovering above your body, simply looking down on it. Okay? Get relaxed, get comfortable, and try to stay awake. Put your body to sleep, but you stay alert. Remember, it's just your body that's going to sleep, not you. You're not your body. You're not your brain. Okay? When you daydream going to the store, you're using the same higher faculty to see it before your body will get up and go to the store. This is exactly the same, except you're taking it outside the limited box of imagination of one little planet. A quite backward planet, by the way. So when you do this, you can see there is a couple, a galactic alliance couple. They're hovering beside you as a spherical being, quite beautiful, but so are you. And there's this perfect form you're projecting to each of us. Mine is male, about 36. You okay there, Susan? You seem to be having trouble staying focused there. Okay. Journeys like this take a guide, actually a number of them, working together in harmony, in order to keep your fears, subconscious mind, subconscious altogether, turned off for the journey. That is what they do. This is easy for them. It's effortless. They don't have any reaction to any negative stuff or your fears or anything like that because they don't have subconscious minds to be reactive from them. So they can see what your problems are. They can see what fears may still be on. They simply turn them off because they know you're supposed to master them. So they begin to give you an experience of what it's like for beings who do not operate with fear at all and do not have it influencing them, because when they're by you, it passes through you. The energy of the hue passes through them. It's not limited or hindered, and it moves through you. And it finds these stuck places, and it begins to work on them to unravel a tight knot of fear that's subconsciously developed over billions of years, billions of lives, and multiple levels below the void. That all has to be sorted out. It has to be sorted out. You hear the sound of the hue coming from a higher reality. And around you is this sound of a deep rumbling, kind of a smooth, just almost a deep humming sound, a little bit of a rumble to it, with no lightning. It's like thunder, but uplifting. And then it becomes the sound of a high note of a single heart-opening flute, and it draws us upwards. The couple is keeping your fears, any of the fears, not just implant stuff, turned off, subconscious mind altogether. And that is a field of energy that is unconscious in some way, that involves many of your higher faculties as an Atma, like how to circumnavigate the whole multidimensional creation built in. When they're awake, you know how to go to Mars, you know how to go to Venus, you know how to go to Zetranami 1, you know how to go to Zentranomon 1, you know how to go visit silent mentors in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. The doorways are guarded by silent mentors, these portals between realities. They don't bar anybody from going through them, except people that are destructive. Destructive beings have been allowed to go through some parallel dimensional doorways within the physical universe in galactic history. Now that's being, let's just say, more carefully monitored now. The next thing you notice, you're in space around Ambassador Turellian. 18 feet tall, this guy. Always shows you this 18 feet tall body. With long blonde hair to his shoulders, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears, white gown on, bare feet, fists closed, thumbs up, held out. There's a golden white light around him, like a little sphere of light around his fists. It's a brighter type of the hue than the hue that is all the golden white light in space. Out here, we see everything as a golden white light. Planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies are all floating, creating electromagnetic fields turning on an axis, which is also the hue that forms around the outside of the object, like a galaxy. There's one that you generate around the Atma itself. It comes out the south pole of the Atma, this whole big sphere of multi-dimensional light with little teardrops in it. It goes in the North Pole. And it allows you to float or move in this other ether, in this other energy. It's the same energy you're made of, and all the little layers are made of the same hue. Separated and divided in compartments so you can have different faculties at your disposal when they're turned on, to go here, to go there, to help co-create change. We are meant to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source behind all life. We always were. This is the one thing in the failed experiment of good and evil, which is being retired, by the way. If you get rid of good and evil, those concepts, something has to take place of this whole negative evil thing. Something has to step into the place within the structure of your being that will only provide you with the wisdom to make decisions so you will never be vulnerable to be caught again. This is what these journeys are about. The Hue Expansion Ray is a term that was coined to describe a change in consciousness in the omnipresent power moving through creation in a different way than it ever has before. It passes through our solar system. It moves through planet Earth. It is changing things in ways people didn't expect. Never saw it coming. Absolutely necessary for people on Earth to survive this transformation, or they would not. Bodies would be wiped out. Beings, no. Atmas would not be harmed. The trauma of suddenly having bodies wiped out on a destroyed world causes problems for each Atma, because then they get guilty about having participated in creating it. That's a different kind of an engram, or a different kind of an implant that beings choose to put upon themselves to not use powers that got them in trouble. This is one of the mistakes of the old failed experiment of good and evil, because it compels people to penalize themselves because they're godly beings. They're Atmas. They know they're not supposed to be doing something destructive, and they get caught in it. So one of the things that we do on these journeys out in space around Turelian, in the golden white light of the hue, it's moving down from Satnam above him, down through Turelian, through us, is it shows us, or begins to impart to us, what our potentials are. Our potentials are nothing less than the beings who serve to guide us. The master teachers and what they can do and how free they are. They're Atmas too, just like us. So naturally it's going to rub off on us. Our nature is to return to the source behind all life and download the awareness of what we are as an Atma into it. Share the billions of lives, everything we've experienced in the astral, causal, mental, etheric, and physical worlds, running 5 forms in 5-dimensional levels. We share that with the source. We're from the source. It requires us to return to change anything from this nonsense that's going on down the lower worlds, this subconscious trap, to something better than has ever been created before. That's what's underway now. Knowing about extraterrestrials is just the tip of the iceberg of what disclosure really is. Disclosure isn't just about knowing there's people on other planets that come here in ships. That's easy stuff. It's knowing about what they're doing now that has to do with moving and journeying beyond the void and coming back to their world systems. Bringing with them an awareness and a wisdom to help nurture the younger races and keep them from annihilating themselves. This is what's correct. And if they don't do it, they're just a bunch of cowards. And they're not cowards, so they're changing. They just didn't know. Let's just say, even as paradisical as they are, your vision of them, as far more advanced and free in many ways than you are on Earth, they too were not returning. So the universe would stay in a stuck place. You got this big organization of world systems, and you got some tyrants out there that want to dominate and control and force warfare. So they always have to deal with this pain in their side for billions of years. Go to war, defeat them, then it rises its ugly head again somewhere else, and it never stops. How can you change a creation from what it is, a multidimensional creation that's just fine, and make it into something that works? How do we make the lower planes of time and space function like the upper realities? Well, they can't be driven by subconscious fear and pull that one off. Not ever. So Turelian shows you he's a spherical being hovering above this form, which is not a physical body, but it looks physical. And he looks like he's a Caucasian male, 18 feet tall. One of the shorter ones, I might add. They never evolved on Earth. They never evolved in our galaxy. They weren't from our galaxy. They have 12-stranded DNA. They did have 12-stranded DNA. You have 2. I'm just talking about the genetic entity, the physical body form. Very evolved. Most beings out in the universe have at least 4. Human. So what happened to beings on Earth to be stripped down to 2? Something happened you're not remembering. At dinner, hovering above Ambassador Turelian. They're master teachers from Oceania, 3 feet long, glowing tails, beautiful creatures, lovely, adorable couple. They exhibit the most sublime, highest enlightened qualities of humans that humans don't even know about, and they're not even human. Emotionally, mentally, intimately, as a couple, their offspring, everything that humans should be, they exemplify. So it comes through them, the hue. These 2 master teachers, hovering above Turelian, have a lot to do with plugging into these journeys for your benefit. In space, you're in a circle of a few people. I'm certainly here, standing opposite Turelian, further out towards space. Ramu's towards the Earth. Pelham is towards my right. The rest of you are in a circle. And this couple from the Galactic Alliance who've left their bodies aboard the Emerald Star Cruiser are standing beside you. They're going on this journey too. They bring back these journeys to those people on that craft, and they distribute it to the rest of the Galactic Alliance. This is how this is working. It's pretty astoundingly, remarkably amazing. Things are really changing. The hue sound out here has got this soft rumbling sound, but if you listen, you can hear the sound of the ocean crashing on a beach. Because your astral body, living a life in the astral plane, is sitting down with its eyes closed right now. And it's tuning into this. You can also hear the sound of running water down a brook over pebbles. That's from the causal plane, where you have a body that's sitting down or laying down there. And you have a mental body, much higher form of molecular time rate that makes up the molecules of that form. And that body is sitting down with its eyes closed, tuning into all of this. You have an etheric body above that. Transparent physical forms, not even atoms as you know it down here. You live there for millions of years unchanged. Very little negativity mixed in the etheric plane, but there is some. And it's sitting down with its eyes closed or standing up with its eyes closed, tuning into what we're doing. So that's how we start this journey off. Jan Tal is a master teacher, has a body immortalized 3.5 million years old. Teaches in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. He's standing further away from me on the other side of Turelian. There's no spaceships here from the Galactic Alliance. They are not necessary for these journeys. But it is necessary for these beings to join us from one of the ships, out of their bodies, just like we're doing it now. Since it's conscious fully for them. When they're standing beside you, they're helping you to understand. As this passes through them, through you, it's rubbing off on you. So you can begin to be comfortable and remember this is normal and natural. When you look up above Eta and Din, you're going to see two couples of silent mentors, alternating male and female. One has a blue kind of pastel gown on. That's a male. Then there's a female, that's a green one. Then to the right of Satnam, standing above them, is another male in a yellow kind of pastel single gown. And then another one to the right, which is more of a violet one. They have hair, blonde, green, red, and violet. You don't see eyes or facial features because they're long hair to their shoulders, but you don't see anything like noses and mouths because the physical human-like form they're showing you cannot be constrained to such a thing. But when you look in their faces, you see levels upon levels of dimensions of galaxies spinning on their axis, each level brighter than the one below it. This is how they think. And they've started to come all the way down there in space with Satnam and join us on these journeys. Don't ask me why, because it's a phenomena. They never did this before, as far as I know. There's no need for them to come down here and show themselves this way. So it must be for your benefit, I'm guessing. And above there was Satnam standing there with his 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, his bronze-colored skin, bald head, gold eyes, not yellow. Little white tunic dress from his waist to his bare ankles, bare-chested, strongly built, ripped, you might say. About 36. You'd think he was from India, but he's not from India. He does not have a body in the lower planes of time and space at all. He's showing you a pure energy form projected from the bigger spherical Atma hovering above it that you can see there. And above that is this hourglass-shaped, golden, white, whirling vortex turning clockwise. And as I sent that first you out, it built a donut-shaped ring on the bottom that lit up. So I'm going to do the other hues with Turelian and others and Satnam and everybody else here. And they're going to build this hourglass-shaped vortex, bypassing the lower planes of time and space, so that it empties itself out into what is called the void. It continues beyond the range of my vocal cords for a bit. And you'll see this whole hourglass-shaped thing light up with a blue-green luminous light around it. Almost looks like water. It's creating a protective barrier made of higher reality energy that carves a doorway between top of space by Earth and the void itself. Someday we can go on journeys to visit the astral plane and look at what you're doing, causal, mental, and etheric, and all that. But that would take a lot of time. So we'll have to see how this expands. But for now, we're going to follow Satnam as he recedes up into that vortex. Turelian's still got his two thumbs up. There's a white golden light coming down through this opening, right through Satnam, all the way down through Turelian, out his thumbs, and surrounding us in a kind of an oval shell of golden white light, a little brighter than the hue in space. It's like the hull of a spaceship. So we're all going to go together as one group on up to explore the upper realities. See, what I'm trying to share with you, and I'm sharing with you all, is that this takes consciousness. Beings have to actually create responsibly together in harmony doorways like this. They don't just stay open by themselves all the time. A custom type of portal between the lower dimension of the physical universe and the upper realities has to be created, because there is no such doorway that's direct in this way. All the different interdimensional doorways that exist in the physical universe, in space, on planets, under oceans, in different places, were put there in place when the lower worlds were built. They're managed by silent mentors, and we have the freedom to move through them, especially when we're sane beings and not nuts like people on Earth are. They're not meant to stay nuts forever. This old experiment of evil and good and all that was never meant to be permanent. Something has to replace it that will allow the silent mentors to help alter the lower planes of time and space so that beings can operate aware only in them. This oval of light that's surrounding us is being drawn upward with the sound of a single note of a flute, high and beautiful. You may hear different melodies being sung, but what sounds like, sounds like 5 women's voices in harmony. Feminine nature, receptive, drawing us upward. And then Lemriel stops in the center of this vortex where it narrows so that you can gaze through the spinning golden white light that is transparent like a window. And you can see all these levels of dimensions and planes surrounding this central point on levels, stacked one on top of the other. And then we're shot upward. The next thing you know, you're in the middle of this pale blue, brilliant atmosphere, but I describe it as pale blue so you get the texture of the softness of this light. There's nothing here that you can see that has a solid form. The sound is like millions of men and women's voices singing the hue, all at once on multiple levels. So it's very, very uplifting. But it is not the realm of the Supreme Being. It is pure hue. There's no positive and negative, no negative nature here. It's a barrier between the lower planes of time and space where the hue splits into 2 apparently opposing positive and negative energies to build other dimensions lower than the pure hue. We call it matter and molecules and all that. But it's meant to be like the yin and yang symbol, positive and negative swirling around each other with a hue expansion ray around it, keeping these forces unified when we manifest. Because if the 2 are together in a whole consciousness, when you imagine something, there's no fear, so you don't create opposites. That's karma, that's reincarnation. Creating opposites creates traps. So we as beings do not have opposites within us. That's all in the physical bodies and the planets and molecules outside of us, surrounding physical matter bodies. That's where the conflict is. When we're up here in the void, you have no conflict because you cannot bring any negative nature with you here at all. None. That means your etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical bodies have to be in the trance state called sleep for the whole Atma you to have the freedom to go on this journey, and they're just fine for now. And as we move further upward, we go upward in a spiral of luminous golden white light. We're traveling in a distance that cannot be conceived of in the lower worlds. The void is very vast. We have to have beings enough light and awareness to take us across the void to the upper reality, where we're starting to see approaching what looks like a luminous white sandy beach. As far as you can see, curving in on itself, obviously surrounding some monstrously huge landmass. That landmass is not made of atoms and molecules like the lower world planes. It is made of the hue, I don't want to say compartmentalized, but in different levels so we can have the appearance of form. It is beings that mock up and hold in place this beach. As we approach it, Satnam hovers above these trees. They're jungle trees, very tall, lining this beach. You can see a huge mountain range in the distance. It's kind of a diagonal from southeast to northwest. Now, hovering above these trees that are transparent, like banana trees and fruit trees and exotic things you've never seen before, the energy of life is moving in them. There are Atmas hovering above them or in them. And above the trees are several thousand in layers, parallel rows of these birds. Long V-shaped split tails. Beautiful rainbow-colored feathers blended so subtly. They're just beautiful. Millions of colors. Big bulbous blue eyes. Twin sets of bird wings, one above the other. And Atma, just gorgeous, bigger than us, hovering above each one. And they are singing. They have vocal cords, but they're not physical bodies. They're actually telepathically singing the hue to us. Male and female voices, perfect vocal cords, sending the hue out in greeting. And then you realize this hue is coming from them, sustaining the void. There is a race of beings in the void most people never see. I have met them. One day we may visit them. They are not human, and you would have to have instant respect for them in order to ever witness them. It's a test that we have to pass at some point. So they're supporting that. And then they fly back down in the trees, minding their own business. Satnam waves us on. Whole group in this golden oval sphere around Tyrellian is moving over the top of the trees, and in the distance you can see a palatial estate, crystalline buildings all along the base of this snow-covered mountain range, covering a beautiful blue stone rock. Two big pillars at the end in the distance, in the middle, like lapis lazuli, blue with gold laced through it. They have a glow around them. They're holding up a pyramid top, like a triangular top, like a Greek temple. And there's these foot-thick gold quartz steps leading up, thousands of steps in between these two pillars. And then in the center, you can see a luminous quartz, blue quartz, transparent like quartz, throne chair sitting there. No cushions. There's a white golden light coming into it. It's a device. Nobody sits in it. I mean, it's really Satnam's, but he doesn't sit in that thing. People would see him and worship him like a god, so he doesn't do that. I think at one time he did, but he doesn't do that anymore. And beyond that chair, in the background is a triangular opening. It goes to a very large fountain. And you look down right below your feet where we're hovering. You see another fountain, smaller, 15 feet in diameter, extending up from a 100-foot in diameter white stone floor. And concentric 4-foot tall layers of different kinds of exotic flowering plants in concentric circles extending out into the distance. Now that fountain has a statue of Satnam standing in it. He's hovering beside it, pointing to it. It is a doorway. It is a device. You can see the two gold bracelets on his upper arms, just like he has in person, the body he's showing you. This big, beautiful Atma, bigger than us, hovering above it. And there's a white golden light coming down into it. It comes through the open palms of his hands, the statue, pours into the bowl, flows down around the outer scalloped edges, and drops behind a flat stone white circular sitting seat. 12 scrolled legs out of stone supporting it. And this energy drops behind the sitting seat and vanishes. So it's one portal through which the higher reality energies supports the Atma plane. This is where we are, the original demarcation or embarkation point for soul, the Atma, before it goes into the lower worlds. That goes the other way. It goes up. When you look back at the big fountain through the triangular opening beyond that blue throne chair, you know that's at the base of the mountains. And it looks like a Christmas tree. There's blue and gold and green energy moving up and down it. But it looks almost like a Christmas tree, but made of light. And it's moving up and down all the time. And there's a shaft of white golden light coming down into it. So we're going to go up into that fountain. And we find ourselves in a circle of golden, oval of golden light moving up into this fountain. Right inside it, and then we're shot upward. When we come out the other end of that, we're now in a different reality. It is a place between the top of the Atma plane, the first realm above the void, and the 6th plane. And there are many planes above that. before we get to Agam Purusha's realm, or the ocean of sound and light, prime, creator, source. And now we're out in space. It's a cobalt blue light, a brilliant, beautiful, luminous blue field of energy everywhere. There's a golden white light behind it, the hue from the higher realities. You can see them mixed. And in the distance you see a huge circular floating landmass. Nothing else is here. No stars, no planets, no moons, no suns. They're not needed. Everything here is held in place by beings, mocked up and responsibly held in place by beings. This floating landmass has this white, brighter, luminous sandy beach around it. You can see a blue-green wave curling to break gently on the beach. It's like a mock-up, and it flows around the outer perimeter of the entire circumference of this land and comes back to where it starts, and it never stops. In the middle of this vast landmass are these 6 snow-covered mountain peaks, and we are now hovering over them, looking down. What you see is a blue glass-like tower extending from the outer perimeter of a white stone island. Around it is a blue-green luminous lake in the base of these 6 surrounding mountains that are in a circle. This smooth glass comes up to an oval administration area. It has a fountain in it. No statue of Satnam here. This is above his realm. It goes up to a minaret point. As you look down on these mountains, you can see at the base, all along the base of these mountains, in symmetrical patterns are a series of horseshoe-shaped tunnels with a luminous golden light. Out of them comes a road, white stone. They go in every direction, straight as an arrow, all the way to the beach, through this entire landmass, like the spokes of a bicycle tire, all around the Hue Expansion Ray Administration Tower. And then you look out in the ocean, this light, this blue cobalt light that looks like water. And then you realize it's not water. And there are 12 small domes, well, pretty big actually, over 3 golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids in each one. 12 locations out in this ocean surrounding the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And those are silent mentor teaching facilities, all 12 of them. You look down on this landmass from up here above it, and you can see, if you divide it into quadrants, like you would a pizza, cutting it in half and cutting it in half horizontally, there are these white roads that go right up the central area of each quadrant, about 2/3 of the way towards the coast, and then they turn right into a clearing. Same for northeast, southeast, and southwest. And you can see from up here that there is a spherical blue, clear glass-like sphere hovering above a 100-foot wide white stone floor with a cobalt blue radiant star in the center. Now these are devices. There's a white golden light coming down into it. So in the northwestern section, which we're hovering above, so you get an idea of what's here, these are 4 silent mentor teaching facilities on the main spherical landmass. There are 12 trees in a circle around this outer edge of this white floor. They look like giant weeping willow trees with broad blue-green spoon-shaped luminous leaves all the way down to the ground. Standing on top of the tree, hovering above it, is a physical-looking form, alternating male and female, 12 of them. And above the head of these silent mentors, you can't see their facial features, is a huge spherical Atma, 4 times larger than us, twice as many teardrop-shaped layers of faculties, and they're simply sharing themselves with us. There's nothing more mysterious about it than the fact that they're willing to do this here. We find ourselves in a circle around Torellian, who's standing in the beam above this crystal sphere, and we're looking at these silent mentors. male and female, and they're moving an energy comes through the top of this larger Atma, comes through these forms, right out through the center of their chest, and it moves through us, through the physical form that looks human, that's perfect. You all have one. It looks to be about 36, flawlessly beautiful female, flawlessly handsome man. I'm there too, by Turelian. And it's moving between us and Turelian, going up that shaft of light, coming down through them and going back through them. So we're in the middle, getting whatever it is that's passing through us from these beings. Turelian, the silent mentors are the mentors of the Say-Rays, like Turelian. The two couples that were standing beside Satnam are standing beside Turelian, and they depart. You see them as spherical beings leave, and they go out to and enter one of these domes in 4 locations, one of the 12 that surrounds the outer circumference of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. The sound here is like if you took a perfect glass chime and tinged it with a soft silk or satin mallet. It would make this ringing sound. It's pure. It's a tone that's just hauntingly beautiful. So we're in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, experiencing one tiny place in it. There are 3 other silent mentor teaching facilities on this landmass, one in each quadrant. The white road rays, when you look down the western roadway, because we can just hover above it and look at it. The first clearing on the right is a big pyramid. It's bigger than the one in Egypt. It's golden sided, got a big quartz cap on the top. It's luminous, sending out rainbow colors everywhere. And there's a little man standing out on a blue stone path right in front of this one side of it, surrounded by a botanical paradise. And there's these blue glass doors divided in half, and they open inside the wall. And this little guy's about 5 feet, 5 or 6. Little hat on his head, little maroon robe, little esoteric symbols on it, little Fu Manchu beard, blue eyes for an Asian, blue. And he's inviting us to go inside this pyramid. It's one of the first teaching facilities I expose people to here. On the left turn on this same roadway, there's a clearing that looks like an ivory-collared grain silo. In it is a blue disc-shaped platform. People stand on it to hold up what we call the sword of life, to see if they can hold the burden or the weight of this massive sword up above them on the index finger, and then move it up above their finger. When I first passed this test with Satnam, it was unexpected, because I had no problem keeping it up or holding it up. And because one being could do it, it can then be passed on to others. It's the only purpose for power or experiences anyway, is so they can be passed on to others. So it makes their lives easier, certainly more easy than it was for me. But that's the whole point, isn't it? So here we discover in this nature of energy that has no negative nature what we're really like. We are meant to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source behind all life. It's a simple fact. You can't deny it here, because this is where you once were aware of it billions of years ago, and now you're returning. So we're going to go up this shaft of light above Turelian, above this sphere, above this one silent mentor teaching facility. We're still in a oval of golden light around us, keep us together. This is something Turelian does as a service. It's not an effort for him. And we're shot upward at tremendous speed. And you can see the whole Hue Expansion Ray Academy dwindling to a point in this brilliant cobalt blue light until it vanishes. And the next thing we see is coming into an opening. And there's a fiery red and gold and green and blue, just moving energy like fire, revolving around itself, twirling and disappearing and reappearing everywhere. There's nothing solid here. Except one thing. There's a tree of life here. And so now we're suddenly back inside, walking in the opening of this pyramid with Light C, back in the U Expansionary Academy. We're going to make a connection here. We're being flexible, moving from one point to another quickly and effortlessly. There's no negative nature to resist us. And when we enter this pyramid, it has a golden quartz floor, thick, glowing, about a foot. And in the center of this pyramid, that's all that's inside it, is a giant silver golden tree, like a fir tree, perfectly formed. All these branches coming out perfectly like they're trimmed. Each needle on each branch represents a planet or a place or a location, not only in the Hue Expansionary Academy, but in all the lower worlds of time and space. Every last one of them is represented in this tree of life. Light C is inviting us and giving us permission. He is the guardian, the master teacher of this place. He teaches by providing direct experience of going into the tree. He monitors this. He is the caretaker of this. And he's absolutely trustworthy. So we go into the trunk of this tree as a group and shot upward, because inside this trunk of this tree, it's transparent energy and it's flowing powerfully up and down at all times. It is a doorway. It is a portal, one of many. And when we find ourselves in this fiery energy, up where Agam Purusha is approaching us, this massive sphere of light. You can't even describe the beauty of the structure in it. It's beyond just layers of teardrops. But he has those too. He's much larger than us. He's even larger than silent mentors. There are 4 of them with us here now. The tree is coming right out of it. It's in the background. You can see these roots going down and disappearing in this moving fiery energy. It's the raw energy of eternity that comes from planes above, and this being regulates it. He's like a concentric generator. He can channel it down into the lower worlds in the right amount, in just the right way, so it doesn't burn everything up, because it would otherwise. And this is Agam Purusha. He is the presence and consciousness behind all power in the multidimensional living power that supports the multidimensional creation. You might as well get to know him. He's simply giving us permission. I've already, in other journeys, blended inside him. So you could see me in the center of the white core of his being, chatting away. And I come outside, I'm still whole, I'm still me. First thing I did when I met him was befriend him. I wanted to be his buddy, his friend, help. You can do the same thing right now if you wish to. You're going to see me move over and merge inside him, right through his layers. No effort. Then you can hear us talking about the Hue expansion ray and how it's changing things, because he's the power behind it, or the regulator of the power that comes from above him. Let's put it that way. And so I invite you all, you 4 women, to enter this as spherical beings. Just move inside him. You won't be harmed. He's not here to harm you. But he is here so you can experience what it's like to be him for a moment. It rubs off on us. Direct experience. And we're outside of him again. And then he invites us to enter this more massive tree with the branches going up out of sight beyond the range of vision. And as you pass through these branches, you each be able to see locations in each needle that not only represent what's in the upper realities above here, but everything below Agam Purusha's realm, through the sixth realm, through the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, through Satnam's realm, through the void, down all the way to Earth, and right out through the planet's atmosphere. And it is moving in only one direction now. It comes from Source, and it returns to Source, and it never stops moving. It is a living power, a consciousness, but it is not an individual being. Collectively, we make up what this consciousness is. And that's where we're going. So we move up this trunk of this tree with this powerful hue moving through us as a group of beings. You don't see this physical appearing form anymore that you project to show yourselves to each other. You're just Atmas here, around Terrellian. There are 4 silent mentors around him, and we're around them. And as we come out the other end of the top of this tree, we are emptied into Prime Creator or Source, ocean of sound and light. And what you see now is a much brighter cobalt blue atmosphere. Millions of times brighter than what's below. In the center is a single silver golden, looks like a galaxy twirling on its axis. And you can see a bulge in the center, but it's a hollowed interior. And there is an island, a white island, floating in the center of a void within it. What you see as we pass through these outer layers of this galaxy are not planets and suns and stars. Individual, powerful, bright Atmas. Always here, always moving around a center. Always partially doing something to co-creatively maintain creation from here. It's their job. And as you pass by some of them, you recognize yourself. What? Means you never left here. The rest is kind of an illusion if you've forgotten everything else. We've never been physical or material beings, not ever. But we've run billions of bodies on many levels. Here you know it. Begin to remember, this is who and what we are. And as we move through these beings that seem to be very far apart from us, like 2 stars in space, we come into the vast interior or void in the center of this galaxy of luminous light and being. The sound is beyond human description. The most beautiful orchestras playing the most hauntingly beautiful melodies you can imagine, whirling around us, constant. It's being sung by the beings that make up and rotate around this center. In other words, they actually sing into creation and maintain it with sound. The first thing that was manifested was sound, then light. As we approach this island, we realize there's something very large hovering above it. It's much bigger than silent mentors or even Agam Purusha. We're like a drop in something, like a marble compared to, I don't know, a basketball maybe? You know, well, in fact, it's bigger than that. But it's made of all these multiple layers of teardrop shapes. It has a white core. It's brilliant. And you can hear a voice that's baritone with a feminine, beautiful quality around it. It's hard to describe. And it says, welcome home. So all we do is move right into the white core of Prime Creator. As a group of beings, there's no golden shell around us. There's just us. And the white energy in the core of our beings is identical to the white energy in the core of Prime Creator. And then it begins to tell you or show you the changing destiny for the lower dimensions of time and space. Not just Earth. It's much bigger than that. And so we start to become trustworthy, conscious co-creators with it. This is why we're meant to return here. Then it imparts something special to each of you. Be conscious of it if you want to, or pick it up later. And then we find ourselves hovering above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Many planes below here. We do not stay long at the source. There are 2 realms above the ocean of sound and light too. We'll go there another time. The realm of the silent mentors and the Hue Expansion Ray plane above that. The Hue Expansion Ray plane above the silent mentor realm is new in creation. It was established there to administer this change in the way things are run. We're going to go out to the eastern roadway. This golden oval sphere of light is around us again, and there's Tyrellian. You all have this perfect looking female form about 36. Remember, this is not a physical body. It's how you really are, the first image of something human that you project to others. But you are really the Atma hovering above it. So it's not true that physical human forms are made in the image of God. No, that's not true. The spherical being we are, like planets and moons and suns and stars, are around because they're made in the image of their creators, which is us, and collectively the source itself. That's why they're round. So we're moving out this eastern roadway straight east until we come to the ocean shore. The last clearing on the right has a luminous path leading down near the coast. And as we move down it, we're hovering above this ground with Tyrellian, who's showing us these booths along each side of this path. And there are beings in it showing you this most magical stuff they're creating for the benefit of all life. Men and women, nicely dressed, Atmas hovering above them. And then you go and you look at something that's like a screen. And you look into the screen, it becomes 3-dimensional. And then you can move into the screen and experience what's in it directly. That's a device that will be built in the physical universe. Probably already exists in the Galactic Alliance. Maybe this is a more advanced version of it. And as we go down this aisle, this path, where these booths on each side showing their artistic representations of things they are building, there's a huge open arena. It's like the size of a soccer stadium with glowing grass. And up in the center of it, hovering up high, is a huge golden transparent sphere of light. And there are beings hovering up inside it and leaving the other side. And when they get inside, there's something being formed in the center inside this sphere. It is a co-creation arena, one of a number in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And so we're all going to go up inside this sphere, pass right into it. We're in a circle, Tyrellian and all of us, around a cobalt blue star. Now you have this form that looks human. You're waving your hands. You, the Atma, is having this tactile sensation with a physical form, so you can smell and hear and taste and touch everything that's been going on. And then we're forming something, and you see an image of the planet Earth appear where that blue star was. And then you see energy moving through the solar system and entering this representation of Earth. And then you see the Earth change. The water oceans start glowing. You don't see any roadways from up here. The moon forms an atmosphere. There's no polar ice caps on Earth anymore. And this Earth, this moon, has atmosphere and little oceans and little domes, and it's turning on its axis, orbiting the planet. And then you see this energy move out through the solar system. And then you see yourself on Earth. And it's moving, this vision is moving from here right through your physical consciousness. You are hovering above the body back on Earth. And it's moving through you, boots on the ground. So it's actually we're partaking in helping to co-create this change. There are many masterful beings in this sphere of light, this co-creative sphere. But we all work in harmony together. We're all contributing to it. This is the way it really is. This means you're like a goddess. And I'm a god in amongst the great ones, helping to make this change. Our freedom is recovered through service. So we must be part of the solution and no longer part of the problem. There's a direct connection from all the way up in the U Expansionary Academy, down the Eastern Roadway, up in that golden sphere in this huge arena that's connected directly through your waking up etheric body, transparent, getting up off some golden steps, your waking up mental body, where thought moves everything, your waking up causal body, where cause and effect are mastered here, and waking up astral body, where all emotion is mastered. And then your waking up physical body. The energy moves through the top of the ceiling. This couple from the Galactic Alliance with their uniform on, beautiful, loving people, are still there. As the energy moves through them, through you, through your sleeping body, right out through the wall of your home, goes out to 3 pyramids on Earth, 2 at the bottom of Earth's oceans, 1 in a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas, goes to a big one, stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field, that circles in the orbit of a planet as rubble that once was a planet that was blown apart. And it's beamed from that pyramid to the galactic core of the galaxy. It goes right up the golden white shaft of light that is not a black hole as people call it. It appeared black because human eyes can't see it, but it's really not. And it goes up this doorway, and it goes right back to source. So you see, this one energy is supporting and maintaining everything that exists in its place. Silent mentors are the beings that keep in place the mechanics of creation. You can see a toroidal field, an energy field coming out the south pole of the galaxy, the Milky Way, going in the north, wraps itself like a huge donut around it. Then you look at this Earth and this Moon, and they have the same thing around them. Then you look at each other, hovering in space by Terrellian. You're hovering above your body back on Earth with this couple, but you're also hovering in space around Terrellian. And we're looking at each other, and we realize the same toroidal field made of the hue is flowing out the south pole of our being, going in the north. It allows us to float in this pure omnipresent power. Travel in it, move in it, know things in it. This energy is not limited by space and time, black holes, interdimensional doorways, or anything else. So our knowing of things, wherever we put our focus of attention, is instant. You can be anywhere in that creation instantly. We can go the slow way, like we did for pleasure, to experience things along the way. Or we can simply be instantly there and instantly back here. That takes a little more experience. That's what we call direct projection. So when you're back on Earth and you have this experience under your belt, it's now passing into what you would call your human consciousness. You know, the one that didn't learn any of this growing up here. And so you, as an Atma, know everything that went on in this journey. The sound and light of the primordial power saw to that. And when you play this journey back, maybe in a few days, whenever you want, you're going to find when you play it with childlike wonder, meaning don't go into this a second time with any fear of the present or future. Just keep it off. And then go in and enjoy the experience. Get a notepad. Play part of it. Shut it off. Talk to your significant other. You know, go to a restaurant. Have some dinner. Come back. Play it again. You're going to find that you, on Earth, have the awareness and intelligence available to you to understand everything that took place in this journey. That is changed consciousness. It cannot be measured in terms of IQ on Earth. It's far beyond that. To comprehend the nature of our beings as multidimensional capable and the multidimensional nature of the entire grand multidimensional creation is something only the Atma can do. And that's not a physical body. When you're ready, open your eyes. You have to use a toothpick to prop them up, you know. So this is the kind of thing that nowadays we're supposed to be doing. And while we're running bodies in all these planes, we're not supposed to be unconscious morons. Can't remember where we are, who we are, or what we are. No, that's not really our nature. So I'm going to bring this recording to a close, unless any of you want to add something to it by asking a question you want on the recording. Otherwise, I'll bring it to a close.